Hey there guys, Sean Michael here from WinBeta, and welcome to episode 65 of the WinBeta Podcast for the week of Friday the 13th. Woo! May 13th. I tried to get Zach to do a blue screen of death right now, but he said no. So
it's not that scary.
Imagine that I put in a joke that's cliche but somewhat funny for like a half second. Anyway, with me as always, this co-host Zach. How you doing, Zach?
Hello, everybody.
And this week, we'll be talking about all sorts of stories. Well, I say that because I say it every week. But to be honest, probably talking a little bit more on topics today, a little less on news. There wasn't a ton of like breaking news this week, but there's some to talk about, including some builds. We might get a build in the middle of the show today. And if that happens, you can watch Zach progressively get more and more stressed as we record live because he wants to go do the video.
Oh, well, to be fair, I probably won't be doing a video today.
Yeah. What was that?
I probably won't be doing a video today.
Well, there goes my joke. You ruined all my jokes, Jack. Anyway, you know, we got stories about $300 Xbox controllers, Instagram's new logo, which doesn't matter, but we'll talk about other things, and then all sorts of fun stuff. But before we dive into any stories, obligatory pleasantries, Zach. How you doing this week?
Not too bad. How are you?
You know, I'm actually doing all right. It's pretty fun. I feel my light's really bright, and it's just brightened up my day.
It was a very nice day in London today.
Yeah, it's you know, we had weather this week that ranged from beautiful. We had the entire British summer happen in the last week.
You know what we actually did? We had a lovely weekend just gone.
I love.
Oh, we've lost Sean. Better keep talking. We had a lovely weekend just gone. The weekend beforehand, which was all sunny and hot. Then we had rain, and then it was just cold, and then it was hot. So there you go. And now it's cold tomorrow again. So wow, we've really lost Sean. This is really quite awkward. Who's the first story? Hi, Sean. Welcome back to the podcast.
Hi. You going into the first story then?
Yes, I am.
Go ahead. Go nuts. I'll leave my video off for now.
So this week, Gabe accidentally released a new build. Well, I say accidentally. The build was going to come out anyway the day after it accidentally came out. So Microsoft's internal systems that they use to actually push a build are either very old or very stupid. So what? I don't know how this happens, but the build that they were staging for release started. I guess the next stage for staging a release was automatically initiated by the system. So the build was all about automatically being offered for users. I believe only for US citizens, those using a US install. I have no idea if that's true or not, because Gabe said, yeah, right now what we do is we stage the build out for all regions and then we press go, so then everybody gets it at the same time. But except since the build started, air quotes, leaking early, only some people were getting it. So some regions could see it straight away, others could not. So regardless of whatever happened, that build started being released to the public. And yeah, a new build 14, what was it? Build 14.342, yeah. Which actually features a few new changes and much welcome changes. Updates for extensions, for example. You can now, the extension support within Edge is now done via the Windows Store, which they said was going to happen anyway, but now it's finally in the insider releases. So you can now use extensions like AdBlock and AdBlock Plus, which I think, are we going to talk about them in a minute?
Yeah, we can. Sure. I mean, we talk about it right now.
We're talking about it right now. So yeah, along with this build, Microsoft officially announced the AdBlock and AdBlock Plus extensions for Edge are available in the store now. There's also a pin it button, and of course you've got the other ones that have been available for a while, such as mouse gestures, Reddit enhancement
Make sure
suite.
to whitelist WinBeta. Don't block us.
Yes, don't block us, please. Real-time web notifications are apparently here as well. So just as it sounds, Edge will now provide real-time web notifications that will be accessible to websites and published in the Action Center. I may be speaking a little bit too fast. Let me slow down. Swipe navigation in Microsoft Edge. Now, this is a biggie. Now, insiders and even the general public really have been asking for swipe navigations for Microsoft Edge. This was a thing with Windows 8 and Windows 8.1. With the modern IE, and I believe it worked on Windows Phone 8.1 as well. It's now back in Windows 10 with Edge with this build. So if you've been missing being able to swipe backwards and forwards between web pages, you can now do that with Edge. Fantastic.
It's amazing, Zach. We're almost to the point that Edge can do everything its predecessor could.
Absolutely. I mean, to be fair, they did rebuild the browsers.
It does more than its predecessor could, but we're almost to the point that it has all the features that it used to.
Yeah, I mean, Edge, like I tweeted this earlier in the week. Edge is becoming a pretty awesome browser with the anniversary update. I mean, I've been using Edge since its public release back in, I guess, February last year, I think it was, in the Insider Preview builds.
Right.
And it's just been great to see how it's progressed through. And it's a very good browser now, and with the anniversary update, it's going to get a lot better.
It's almost a shame that I think people probably attached it to the initial bugs and then maybe IE. And so I wonder if Edge will ever be that popular. But that doesn't mean it's not a good browser. You don't have to be popular to be good. I agree. It's actually becoming much better.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it will be even more so.
Performance-wise, just stability, it's just a really cool browser to use. Skype Universal Windows app has been updated, or will be updated. I don't know if it has been updated for the public yet. I know Gabe went back into his blog post and said will be released as an update soon. Either way, this new update will enable dark mode for the Skype app, and a new mobile release will be coming in the next few weeks. So I don't know. I guess there's a reason why they're waiting. It's still a bit buggy on mobile, but it does work on mobile. I have tried out the app on mobile, and it works very nicely. I did complain about the Skype Universal Windows app previously, but the first version that they released to the public was pretty bad, and obviously since it was a very early development, that's understandable. The updated app, which I'm not sure has been released to the public yet, but the updated app is a lot better, and I actually use the Skype Preview app now all the time on Windows Redstone. All the time.
What usability, or what does that provide usability wise? Why would I want to use that app?
Right now it doesn't have everything, but I think for what you use Skype for and what I use Skype for, it has what you need. I think it has it should have group conversations now, obviously video calling, messaging, all of the basic stuff. I can hear video for some reasons unknown. Let me close this window. So yeah, it's got all the basics that you would expect to have from Skype, and they're all working very nice. And the UI has been updated. One of the biggest things I had with the first version of the Skype app, Universal Preview app, was the UI just looked awful. UI is finally starting to look, usable now, which is very nice. I need to reopen that window to find out.
Sometimes you get those updates. When they try to translate, I think services like Skype Win32 to apps. There's like things that don't really work as a universal app UI that just did as a desktop, and so I think it just takes a bit for that to get updated.
Yeah, there's also some updated visuals for the user account control. Hooray! So yeah, apparently that works in dark mode. That's nice.
Yeah, and you get the middle click. I'm excited for.
Oh yes,
I can't middle click, but people like it.
Middle click for dismiss in Action Center, so now you can dismiss individual notifications via a middle click. The ink workspace icon got updated. #news.
It's more expressive, Zach. That's what it says. It's more expressive.
That sounds like an Apple statement. The new icon has been updated with a more expressive ink stroke and more consistency with other notification area icons. That's very nice. Feedback hub improvements and apps to websites. So the ability to redirect websites to apps is coming soon. No apps support it yet, but a new page has been added to the settings system and apps area to support the feature.
That's such a Windows thing. We have this new feature, and then they actually have to put in there, no apps support it yet.
Soon, obviously. Obviously soon.
Oh, poor Windows.
But yeah, that's pretty much the surprise. I say surprise. The early leaked build we had from Microsoft this week. It was very funny because it was at least, I think it was 3 a.m. here, and I was still awake for reasons unknown. And Ron WhatsApped me because I'm usually never in the chat room at 3 a.m. And Ron WhatsApped me and he was like, "I'm getting a new build," and I was like, "What?" Checked. Turns out he was getting a new build, and I was like, "Okay." So I started writing the article, and I was like, "Apparently, with no idea if this is supposed to be out or not," and turns out it was just early. There you go.
It's funny because this week we had a story on the Microsoft Band 2 and how you can use it through if this then that. You can end up having a Twitter notification like message your band, like you get a text message or whatever. And he was saying like, oh yeah, in this way, whenever Gabe releases a build and I'm away, if I'm the only editor available, I can jump on and do the story. Except for this week, my friend, because we told Gabe the build was going out before he knew it was going out.
Apparently so. And yeah, there was all the people who work on the build push were at home, I believe, which I think is even funnier. So the Microsoft automated staging service were doing stuff when nobody was there. Because it was evening time in Redmond, I think. I think it was like 7 p.m. So I guess unless you was working late.
We're not going to freak out about the fact that a machine was updating itself when no people were there on its own without their knowledge.
I don't know. I don't know what the staging thing was doing there. Well, what we should talk about is the lack of a mobile build. Now, I know it's still early Friday, and it could be a build at any moment for mobile, but the usual time for releasing a build is 2 hours ago, usually 10 a.m. in their time, 6 p.m. here. It's now 8 p.m. here, so 12 p.m. there. I guess they've done 2 p.m. releases for builds, which is in another 2 hours, which is
They've
quite
released
late.
builds mid-podcast before.
They have done that. So yeah, Gabe did hint that a new mobile build would be coming this week. When the desktop build was released, someone said, so are we not getting a mobile build this week? And Gabe said, I didn't say that. So that was his hint at there being a mobile build this week. But we haven't seen it yet. So it'll be very interesting to see if they release the same build for mobile that they did for desktop, or if they release a new one, considering we've had a few more days of QA testing internally for the newer builds. Regardless, we have no idea where that is. Would be nice if Gabe tweeted about it and let us know.
I wonder how many more builds you play this game sometimes. I know you did it with the official release of Windows 10. How many more builds are we gonna get before it's basically RTM?
Well, the original internal documents that I had seen had said that the Redstone 1 release was targeted for June. It wasn't clear whether June was obviously public release or just internal air quotes RTM, because they're not allowed to use the term RTM no more.
Even though there's a thing, but
no, yeah, even public Microsoft speakers, I believe they're trained to not say RTM. They're not allowed to publicly say RTM no more because of the Windows as a Service thing. Regardless, the air quotes final build of the anniversary update could be finalized in late June or early July, because if it's coming out in late July for the anniversary, of course, then it would make sense to have at least 3 weeks of insider testing before that goes out to the public, kind of like how the November update and I believe the actual initial Windows 10 release was done. Right. So yes,
yeah,
very soon.
I mean, we're mid-May now.
Yeah,
so even if it wasn't going to RTM until July, it's still, you'd be getting pretty close to RTM candidates in mid-June.
It's at least less than 2 months.
Yeah.
So at less than 2 months, and we should have a final build, which will be very nice.
Well, speaking of builds, we swore a long time ago that we weren't going to do cumulative updates because they aren't feature filled. By definition, it's just a cumulative update. But this week we're going to break that rule because we have a story on build 10.586.318, which rolled out. There's a bit of a bug, maybe. Our headline is, if Windows 10 build 10.586.318 slows down your machine, Microsoft wants to know. It's a bit of a red flag. So apparently, John Wink, MSFT, posted, he's a Microsoft employee, on a subreddit, posted, quote, if your PC is abnormally slow after installing the update, you may be seeing a problem that I've been trying to track down for a couple weeks. And then to try to alleviate the slowness, though, the employee recommends to do the following. And then it's click in the Cortana search box, click Notebooks and Settings, and move the slider out. Cortana can give you suggestions, ideas, reminders, alerts, and more to off. So in a public release build and a cumulative updates, there's apparently this bug that I don't even know if this, sometimes with this support, I get kind of leery on it. Is it a real thing? But apparently there's this thing he's been trying to track down that's a big bug, or not a big, but if it slows it down significantly, why was this in a build?
I believe, since the way it sounds, how that forum post sounds, the reason he needed to convince them to roll it up in a future update, and that's because not a lot of people were experiencing this bug, so they were unable to determine whether it was an actual widespread bug, and it doesn't sound like it is. But from
I haven't had that issue too. I don't think so.
And obviously, since he would have to convince, or they would have to see the data necessary for them to even consider developing a patch or working on a patch for the next updates. That's probably why. So I don't think it's a big issue. And besides, PC slowness happens for a number of reasons. And obviously there is a fix that you can do, which he has explained.
Now, is this an issue that would have been in previous builds that he's been tracking now, or is this shows up only in this update?
I have no idea. It depends. It entirely depends.
All right. Well, maybe it's a little odd. Maybe it's not a big deal. It hasn't affected me, so maybe it's not that common.
Oh, Jonathan Sampson's in the chat. He works on Edge at Microsoft.
Oh, there you go. Hello, Jonathan
Hi.
Sampson, who works on Edge. Were you here when Zach was complimenting Edge? Because Zach was literally complimenting what you were.
I was complimenting. Rewind the podcast, you'll hear it.
Just a few minutes ago, mate. You go back and then jump. Well, you'll find us. Don't worry. It's
unless it's not the real Jonathan Sampson, which is entirely possible.
That's true. We've had fake gay bulls before, which should be banned by whoever our moderators are, please.
Well, anyway. Careful, because this could be the real Jonathan Sampson.
This guy could be him, but if another gay bull shows up and it's not him, just
Is it your story next?
Yes, I guess so. All right, so I guess that's it. We have a poll this week. It's a bit of a bigger poll, I think. Sometimes they don't get a lot of traction. This one had some heated, not heated, but, people care about this sort of thing. And it's on which Android phones you wish could run Windows 10 Mobile. So I'm basically summarizing how I introduced the article, but I said the wait for high-end Windows 10 mobile devices is either near its end or it's wrapping up. You got the 950, 950 XL, which are actually pretty nice now the OS has been updated, from what I've heard. I don't have it. Zach, you say they're nice, yeah?
Yes.
Yes, see, perfect. You got the Acer J Primo coming up. The HP Elite X3 is coming up. You might get a Surface phone at some point. So we have high-end devices, both from Microsoft and from OEMs other than Microsoft. But there are still some really big names on the market that don't have devices that run Windows 10 Mobile. A couple big examples, and these are the podcast or the poll examples. Samsung Galaxy, I think it's Xiaomi Mi 5. I saw it in a video. I think that's how you pronounce the Xiaomi brand name. The Sony Xperia line, the Nexus, but that's just a hopeless dream. But it is on the poll, and then the HTC 10, which. Some of these, like there's a Xiaomi Mi 4 that does run. You can flash Windows 10 Mobile onto it. The HTC One M8 had a Windows variant, but they didn't make one for the HTC 10.
There's probably a reason for that.
What was that?
There's probably a reason for that.
Probably. So the point is, these are big OEMs that I think if they had Windows 10 mobile devices, you would be able to ease some of the marketing. If you just had like a Galaxy commercial, and then in like half of the commercial or 2/3 of the commercial it was Android, and then it just said now also available in Windows 10 Mobile, and you see someone clicking like Microsoft Word or writing in OneNote with a stylus or something like that, then that would alleviate some of the marketing off of Microsoft or create marketing that doesn't happen much for Windows 10 Mobile and put it on some of these OEMs. It would also provide some unique feedback. Obviously stylus, that example might have to wait until stylus supports a bigger deal in the mobile variant of Windows 10. But so the poll this week was between those devices. I know, Zach, you have another one you'd like on there, which we'll get to in a minute. The results surprised me. The Galaxy jumped out to a quick lead, but actually by a landslide, the winner is the Sony Xperia.
Yeah, that surprised me.
I have no idea why. Someone said was the poll hacked, but I've prevented repeat voting. And I've checked how many people clicked on the actual web page and then compared it to how many votes were in it, and those actually line up really well. And 58.78% of voters, almost 2,000 voters, said it's Sony Xperia. And then the next up is the Galaxy, which is just under 22%.
I feel like the Xperia doesn't get as much media attention as the Galaxy or the HTC 10. Like Sony as a mobile manufacturer are not big in my mind, whereas you get HTC and obviously the others.
I do like the Xperia line though, very nice.
I've always thought Xperia was very cheap, which I know is an incorrect assumption, but I had a friend a very long time ago who had a Sony Xperia, but it just seemed awful as a phone.
My friend Craig has one. It's a few years old now, but it's nice. And there's some pretty nice Xperias out there. And so, yeah, it was interesting. I personally picked the Galaxy. And that also includes, in my mind, because I said Galaxy, that would include the Edge variants, the Note variants, just any of the Galaxy lines. I mean, the Galaxy's waterproof, got stylus support, big screen, nice it's just a beautiful device. I would love to have a Galaxy running Windows 10 Mobile. What about you, Zach? Though you had an interesting one. I know it wasn't on this list.
Yeah, the BlackBerry Priv, which I've always said is a wonderful looking device. I'd love to actually own one, but I have not had the chance to get my hands on one. that device, because it runs Android, if it ran Windows 10 Mobile, it would be the ultimate mobile productivity device. It has a full-on typey physical keyboard, just like a BlackBerry does. A full-on nice typey keyboard. Obviously, it has a normal size touchscreen, not cut off like the BlackBerry Passport or the BlackBerry Bold. And yeah, I think it would just be a really nice device to use. Now, I have heard some people say that the BlackBerry Priv with Android is not all that great, but I reckon it would be vastly improved with Windows Phone, Windows 10 Mobile.
I would also say that someone who's willing to have a BlackBerry is probably okay with not having a few apps.
Yeah, exactly.
And so they probably wouldn't be too offended by mobile.
And to be fair, I do believe Windows 10 Mobile's the more secure than Android and iOS, right? I'm not sure, because I know BlackBerry OS is the most secure mobile operating system, but I think Windows Phone's a close second.
Yeah, I think it is as well. Though I don't want to, if someone has stats against it, that could be possible.
Probably. There's always someone who's like, that's not right, sorry. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I wish, that would be fine. People in the comments, there were a lot of quite interesting comments, actually. Almost 100 comments. See, sometimes these polls, they make me so happy when they hit that trending page. People said, wouldn't it be great to be a point where you just pick the operating system on any phone you want?
That would be lovely. I would love it if Microsoft just said, hey, here's a bunch of ROMs for all of these awesome popular Android devices. Have at it. Now, I know that's obviously not that simple, but it would be great if that happened. Just like how they released a ROM for the Xiaomi Mi 4? Yes.
Yeah, and that's why I said there's a Mi 5, but there isn't a ROM for that.
Not yet. Aren't there rumors for ROMs for the OnePlus 2 and some others?
I don't know. I didn't even put that on the poll, though. That is another good Android
That would be very nice, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would take any of these, honestly. I mean, the more the merrier. I think the more OEMs there are, you need to get to that point where it's normal for people to see it. Like, I saw, what was it? I think it was Barclays. I use Barclays Bank, and they're a big bank in the UK. I'd imagine they're pretty big worldwide, to be honest, in terms of, how big they are as a bank. But they have a really nice app for Windows Phone. I don't think it's built for Windows 10, but it does work on it very well. And it allows you to do all sorts of things. It works really well with Pin Sentry, which is good for security. And it's just a tremendously solid banking app. It's really impressive. And it is on Windows. But when I went to the bank, they had like a screen, and on the screen advertising that they have apps, it only listed iOS and Android. Actually, no, I think it also listed BlackBerry. So it listed that they have a BlackBerry app, but they didn't list Windows, even though they have a very well-functioning Windows app. And so I think you need to get it in the face of people that it is a normal thing, and then you might end up, gaining some traction that way.
I have actually an interesting app story this week as well. So last week, I think it was, I tweeted about wanting to turn my house into a smart home.
Right, yeah.
And this was difficult, as since I'm using a Windows Phone, none of these smart home people make apps for Windows Phone, so it's technically kind of impossible for me to do so, except Samsung. Samsung seems to have a pretty healthy smart hub that actually has a Windows Phone app, and they advertise it. On their website, we're on Android, iOS, and Windows Phone.
Oh, look at that.
And I believe it is a Windows Phone 8 app, but it looks fine on Windows 10 Mobile. And the app is fully functional, works entirely how... the app itself is not very great, but then it's not very great on iOS and Android either. But it's the full app that you would expect, and it does everything. It's not missing features. All of the hub features that you get all work here. Obviously, the hub is a universal hub, so I can hook up things like Hue light bulbs, heating appliances. I can literally turn my entire house into a smart home now on Windows Phone. I should probably do a write-up about this. But yeah, I was very surprised to see Samsung supporting Windows Phone, considering their last attempt at a Windows Phone device was the Active S, and that didn't go down very well. So
I would say, though, like Samsung, while they are, I think, in many people's eyes, ubiquitous with Android because they have one of the top Android phones, it's not that they only work. There's a tablet that runs Windows 10 that's made by Samsung. Mm-hmm. They're not closed off to the idea of working with Microsoft and some of their things. So I think that's good to see. Samsung's a great company. They have this really good ad here. If you go to a cinema in the UK and it goes through like a ton of their devices, and they're pretty spot on. So I'm glad that they support it. Something like Nest is never going to support Windows because it's owned by Google.
Oh yeah, anything owned by Google is not a fan of Windows Phone.
So that's Nest is not going to, so I'm glad that Samsung picks up the slack. So that'd be great.
Well, speaking of developer support for Windows 10 Mobile.
Yeah, there you go. You got Instagram this week.
Yeah.
With their new logo. It looks, some people, have you seen people, if you haven't seen the logo, it's probably worth looking at. I'm sure it's pretty easy to find. It looks like, in PowerPoint back in the day, somebody else made this, I'm just repeating their joke, but PowerPoint back in the day, and you can still do it now, I'm sure, you can do like backgrounds on like your PowerPoint presentation when you were in secondary school, and you can just make like the diagonal stripe of multicolorness.
Yeah.
That's what their new logo looks like now.
And they've got a new app UI as well, right?
Sure. Yeah, new look logo. Yeah, and then the question here was it going to come to Windows? So for those that don't know, there is an Instagram app. I used it today. It works fine. It does feel like it's out of place a bit. Doesn't feel like it's a native app, but it does work. It was made using tools that Facebook owns, right? That's what I've heard.
OS Meta, yeah. OS Meta.
Yeah. So it doesn't use. It's not like a universal. It's not like SixTag, which is an Instagram third-party app. Which I'm assuming either does now or will, be a universal app and really get those native interface features as a lot of third-party apps do. So it doesn't have those. But what it does get as a benefit is that because it's almost identical to the iOS app, the hope was that we would get these iOS features. So when this started rolling out, people were kind of like, well, it's coming for here, and it's not coming to Windows 10 Mobile. But now there's an update, and Facebook told NeoWin, the app, quote, will be updated later this week with a new redesign, which would be great. Now, of course, we're here to Friday, and I don't think it's here yet. But like you said, it's early Friday. They still have a few hours.
Yeah.
So
I just think this is hilarious how a few weeks ago Instagram was like, we're bringing our awesome app to Windows 10 Mobile. This is the full-on app that you can get on iPhone. This is excellent, fully featured. But they made a big deal about it. Microsoft was like, guess what's here, guys? It's Instagram. 3 weeks later, Instagram are like, oh, we've got a new app update that just makes the old app completely awful and just terrible. Look at all this new stuff we've got. And Microsoft had left it. Do you reckon Microsoft knew that they had a new app coming in the next couple of weeks?
I don't know. Like I said, I think that there's a few approaches. On one hand, people say, oh, universal apps are great. And they are. Because if you build them across multiple devices, if you do update the PC, a lot of those features you could easily update on the phone. Well, that's great if the company is regularly updating it. But the Instagram app, the old one, was in beta for like a year, if not longer. And so the hope was that this wouldn't be a problem. So I'm really interested to see if this new redesign and logo come out this week or not.
I know Facebook want to use their own tech, but they should have just went with the Android Bridge thing. Now, obviously the emulation doesn't work.
The one that doesn't exist anymore.
No, but you can still bring an Android app and convert it to a universal app, right? You can do that.
No, that's Islandwood. That's for iOS.
Yeah, but you can do that with Android apps as well. You just can't emulate that app on Windows Phone. It has to be converted into a Windows Phone app.
I'm not sure, honestly.
I'm sure that's how it works. But they should have just done that, because then it'd just be easier to port, because then you could just work on the Android app and go, okay, here's all the Android stuff, just drag it over here, done. Now they've got to go for their own tech and make sure all of this does all that and whatever else, and I reckon it's just more clunky for them, I think, and that's probably why we don't have an update yet.
Yeah, it's probably a bit clunky. I don't know, honestly. Facebook's a huge company. They probably wanted to keep it in-house. I would prefer, actually, I'll say, whatever gets me Facebook Live and the latest updates from them and gets me all the latest Instagram, I care about that above just about everything else. If it feels out of place, but I can use it right, I would be a happy person. But I don't want to be left behind with some of these apps. So it's interesting to me to see, because if I know that they're different tools, but if Facebook regularly updates all of their apps, including Instagram, because they use this tool, I think that would actually give some hopes to Islandwood actually working in the future, because that proves that ported apps are more easy to update.
I just find it hilarious how it wasn't even 3 weeks and Instagram on Windows Phone's already outdated. I just think that's hilarious. I think
that's
it's
true.
So funny.
Yeah.
Oh well, typical Microsoft platform for you.
Yeah, there you go. Deal with it. Do you like how our the chat right now for the live stream is turning into like people just talking to Jonathan about Edge? which is fine. I just think it's funny.
Yeah, that's feedback hour.
Yeah, feel free to talk to him. He's there.
He's there.
He's
quick, ask him all the questions you've wanted to ask about Edge. He might be able to answer, or he might not. Moving on to the next story. This gold carbon fiber Xbox One controller is expensive but shiny. Is this an official controller from Microsoft?
I can't imagine it is. It's the Xbox One Elite Titan controller. Why don't you go into details and I'll follow.
So Colorwave, yeah, it's from a third-party person. So Colorwave has launched a beautiful yet expensive Xbox One controller known as the Xbox One Elite Titan controller. This controller carries a whopping, wait for it, $300 price tag, which is way more than the standard controller which ships with the console itself, obviously. So
the console is now less than $300, isn't it?
Yeah, so you could technically buy an Xbox One with a controller for less money than buying this controller on its own. The controller front is made from a gold carbon fiber graphic with a gloss finish, while the rest of the controller is painted in jet black gloss, giving it a premium look compared to the standard controller. The company mentioned that it's a limited edition piece and the initial run is only of 50 pieces, which means you may have to act fast if you want to get this controller. So
I know somebody bought those. I guarantee somebody's bought
Absolutely. Probably all 50 were sold out quite quickly. So Colorwave said this: carbon fiber is a man-made material that has revolutionized the aerospace industry, auto racing and artificial limbs. Although carbon fiber is incredibly strong and lightweight, it also has a distinctive woven pattern that makes it appealing to the masses. Because of its appeal, Colorwave created a custom gold carbon fiber graphic for the Xbox One Elite controller. This limited edition custom Xbox One controller with the gold carbon fiber graphics is called Titan. So there you have it. If you have $300 to waste, you can go and buy one of these Elite controllers with a cool script
thing around it. You have an Xbox One Elite wireless controller from Microsoft.
Yes.
Does this have similar performance better? Because it does have, like, the D-pad looks similar. Does this work? Does this have paddle shifters? I don't know.
Yes. It's an Elite controller, so it has.
It's an Elite controller that is also carbon fiber.
Yeah. So how much is the Elite controller? It's like $150.
I just looked it up on Amazon. It's 120 pound, which comes to approximately $180.
So So it's
for an extra $120, you can make it carbon fiber and gold.
I guess it's still too expensive for a controller.
I guess maybe they're thinking if someone's willing to drop $180 on a controller, they will drop $300 on a controller.
There's still a big jump for a controller. If I was in the store and I was buying an Xbox One Elite controller and next to it was this controller, I would probably not go for it just because it's too expensive.
You know, actually, one of the commenters brought up a good point. What? Is it actually made entirely out of carbon fiber? It says is made with gold carbon fiber graphics. That's a good point by Mo.
It's just a picture. It's not actually
we'll
carbon
have to
fiber.
see. I mean, based on the carbon
That'd be
fiber
so funny.
material.
Yeah,
but,
well, there you go. Super expensive controller if you're interested in that.
And if you want that, find our Patreon. No, I'm just kidding. Start a Patreon to get Zach one of those controllers.
No, I'm alright, thanks.
Right.
I'm happy with my Elite controller Microsoft sent me.
Does it make a big difference in gameplay for you?
Not really.
Oh, really?
I'm not much of a professional gamer. I just love it because it feels great in the hand.
Well, there you go. But just imagine, what if it was shiny and made of carbon fiber?
I guess I'll only have to imagine, because there's no way I'm buying that.
Anyway, we're going to try something a little new this week. We won't do this every week, but I did an article. It's part of our new series called Feedback Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And it's on what you'd like to improve on, and then a specific section, or how would you improve. So last week I did it on ease of access and personalization, and this week I did it on the messaging app inside of Windows 10. Honestly, the article's a little longer form journalism. I'll put it here in bullet points for you, then we just talk about it. Some things I want in the messaging app. GIFs, and these aren't mine, they're from the Feedback app. I want to attribute those folks. But GIF support, get rid of them circles, because we want squares, because this is Windows 10 mobile and Windows. We don't want circles, we want squares. So there's that. Swiping to delete text messages. One of the comments said you can do that in one of the newer builds. Is that true, Zach?
I have no idea.
I have no idea. So anyway, that was feedback. Maybe it already happened. And then the enter key, when you're using like actionable notifications, should definitely send messages, because it doesn't right now. Which is very annoying, because enter is like send. And if you don't want it to be that all the time, then let us choose. That's what Facebook does. There's like checkbox enter to send. So anyway, that's in there. You know, comments are as well. We want to talk about what do you want to do to improve messaging, Zach? And this also ties in with the universal Skype app that you were talking about as well, I think.
Well, I'd like the messaging app to be good, for starters. Because right now it's not great. I want there to be because the upcoming one in the anniversary update, please make there be an option for me to remove a device from my messaging account. Because with the anniversary update, the previous build I was using previously, I switched from a... No, I didn't. I just reset my Lumia 950 and it showed up as 2 different devices, I believe. So that annoyed me, and there's no way to get rid of it within the app or via Microsoft account, website, or whatever. So I've just completely nuked my anniversary update installed, and with the hopes that they would automatically be reset before I get back on in July. But yeah, I'd definitely like to see a toggle for me to be able to remove phones from my messaging app, because right now there's no way to do that.
Do you want it to be integrated with Skype?
I'm thinking about... I did, but thinking about it now, I'm happy. I'm okay about it.
Okay.
Because the only people because I've moved all my people who I was using on Skype back to SMS anyway, other than people who I only have on Skype. So circle pictures do not fit with the modern UI. I disagree with that one entirely. I understand Microsoft's vision was the circle pictures being for people. Because
is that their argument? So things are square and people are round?
People are circle, more.
I guess on the Win32 Skype they're round.
Think about it, because everywhere that there's the option for a profile picture, they're all round. Like, if it's a person, it's in a round circle. If it's an icon, it's square or whatever else. I definitely like that as a UI choice.
I guess that's fine. Honestly, that's a bit of a bit. I'm not like... There are things I get angry about, and then there's like... Yeah, people complain about circles.
Also, I know. Well, I bleed in hope it's coming, but user profile pictures in Action Center and notifications. Why isn't this here yet?
Yeah, like I'm here, like on Tweetium, they have right here. I have a tweet from a guy, Nicholas Heyman. Hello, Nicholas, and it's got his profile photo right in the notification there. He tweeted me, and I can see his little photo. Hello. Hello, little Nicholas. He's very tiny, though, because it's a notification, so they're very small. It's over there. But, yeah, I agree. That'd be great.
Yeah, well, with the anniversary update, they're bigger.
Oh, well, there you go.
Actually see them.
Then if they're bigger, you definitely need them to be the actual photo.
Yeah, but right now, I do assume this is coming, but right now the icon is just a huge messaging icon.
Oh, can I say one place that the circles don't look good to me?
Where?
On the People app, when you'd make like a live tile of it.
Oh, yeah, no.
That looks silly.
It's a bit iffy, yeah.
Yeah, I liked if it was like squares and they like flipped around rectangles or whatever. But I guess I can understand some. But most photos today, yes, this is still a podcast. It's just less exciting to you. Most photos today you frame to be square because your phone shoots things in squares, cameras shoot things in squares. So sometimes when you take things from a photo to your people icon, I think it crops it funny. But I guess if it's a design choice, maybe...
Well, it depends on the photo.
Yeah. It does. Oh, well. Well, there's that. I don't know. Is there anything else you want to change about the messaging app?
Just make it better. Make it look nicer. Make it just not crash all the time. Thanks.
I think it's a bit of a placeholder, if I had to be honest.
If only.
Well, no, I mean, like, if you... Oh, well, maybe a bad word. But if you look at, like, the messaging app now... The UI is very basic. It's like it's tremendously basic. Mm-hmm. It's very simple, and you might argue that's a good thing for a messaging app. But
the Windows 10 UI gets a lot right, but it also gets a lot wrong. Like, it's very easy for the Windows 10 UI to look dreary or unfinished, even when it's not. Even when the UI is completely 100% done. I've always thought the settings app in Windows 10 looked really empty and dreary and just not complete, but it obviously has been complete for a while. But that's just the nature of the Windows 10 design language.
Yeah, it does look pretty empty, you're right.
Yeah, and same with the messaging app. I just feel like the messaging app, when it's on desktop, just doesn't look finished. And I guess there's not much we can do about that, because that's just the design language. They should add, actually, thinking about it. Let me open it. I don't think they've got it on Redstone 1 either, but a hamburger menu, just like on every other app.
You know, I was just thinking, why can't I make this smaller, the lists of who it is? Why can't I have it just be the profile photos?
You can on phone.
Can you on PC, though?
I don't believe so. Maybe.
I'm on it now.
Yes, you can. It's working. You have to be in a conversation.
I'm in a conversation.
Are you on the Universal app?
Yeah.
Just make the window thin.
Make the window thin. Aha!
There you go.
What if I want those?
You can't do that. Can't do that.
Why can't I do that?
Because you can't. Just don't ask questions. Don't ask questions.
Here I am. It's full. Hola. And then, now it's there with the little blank because people don't have photos, so it's just gray. Anyway, or maybe that's because it's multi-conversations. Well, that's interesting. I don't like that one bit. I think they should change that.
I should change it.
You're right, though. The Windows 10 UI can look pretty unfinished.
Yeah.
You know where it doesn't look unfinished? Groove Music.
Groove Music is a good example of what Windows 10 apps should look like.
And was it this week that we had that people claim it was the leaked... you remember the Redditor? He upgraded. He tried to get the Windows 8.
Yeah.
Was that this week?
Yes.
I guess we could talk about that. This week, apparently someone tried to get the Windows 8 app like side-loaded on his PC. Mm-hmm. And as a result, it updated, and then he had a new OneDrive app, which is apparently the Windows 10 app. And
yeah, I'm not entirely sure if this is a true story. Nobody that I know was able to confirm.
Yeah, no one I know has replicated it.
Yeah, or people who tried were never not able to get it working, I don't believe. I've actually tried out the Universal OneDrive app. It's fine. It's just the mobile app, just expanded.
Does it look like the thing that you saw?
Yes, it looks like the thing that I saw. Yes, it does. It looks just like that.
Okay, well, that design language looks a ton like Groove, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think Groove is a very good example for a design for a Windows 10 app. But then on the flip side, if you use the film and TV app, not a great looking app.
You know, it's one of the things that I think Groove does really well is the hamburger menu scales so well. Because then when you go on a phone, it actually, it just works well. It's like Groove is what Windows 10 could look like. Like, everything should look as good as Groove.
Yeah, as other examples, I think. Actually, there isn't. Settings, obviously, is one. Skype video is one. Voice record. I guess voice recorder is basic. Doesn't need to be
voice recorder.
No, but for film and TV. The movies and TV is definitely another one that I think looks very unfinished, even though it's not. It just seems very empty and cold, if you know what I mean.
That's interesting. You know, there's a podcast app, and it used to be called Groove Podcast, and now it's called Grover Podcast. I think Microsoft told them to change it.
Uh-huh.
It is the exact same design as Groove Music.
Is it really?
It is like honestly, you could put them side by side, and you probably couldn't tell the difference unless you knew what to look for. Which is fine, because Groove Music has a great layout, but they're almost identical.
Yeah.
Like, it's got the hamburger menu and everything. It's great. I think Microsoft should just make that themselves, because they still don't have a podcast app for PC. Anyway. Well, there's that.
There is that, yes.
I don't know, Zach. I don't know. We have to go into the features thing this week. We probably just wrap up now. What do you think?
Sure, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, we were going to talk about what we were looking forward to in the anniversary update, but to be honest, we got a few more weeks to talk about that.
Yeah, we can do that next week.
The Photos app people brought up as well. He said it needs some help. I actually like the layout of the Photos app a little bit. It could be cleaner, though.
Yeah, there is an update coming to the Photos app soon. Not UI-wise, just feature-wise, that I have written about in the past. I have no idea where that is.
There you go. All right, well, I guess I'll wrap up then. This has been the WinBeta Podcast, episode 65 for the week of May 13th, Friday the 13th, 2016. As always, I've been one of your hosts, Sean Michael. You can find me on Twitter at Sean_Michael_UK. And you can find Zach on Twitter.
At ZachB_.
And let's see, what else? You can find WinBeta on Twitter at WinBetaDOT.org. You can find us on Facebook. Find us on the social media of your choice, or all the social medias of your choice that we're on. They'll be aware, because you'll see the same.
Except Snapchat.
Yeah, not Snapchat. I found that old, I drew the Snapchat logo on a piece of paper once to scare us for like Halloween. I still have that. It's over there. Could have been fitting for Friday. I almost got up and grabbed it, but we're wrapping up, so whatever. There's that. We're on YouTube. Obviously, if you're watching this on video, you know that we're on YouTube, but we're also on SoundCloud if you just want to listen to the audio. Unless we have a HoloLens demo, we're always on audio for the full podcast, and that's great. Appreciate your feedback. Get to know us on Twitter, talk to us in the comments, all that sort of thing, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.